So recently, a bunch of Unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. 1. Did it have potential? And 2. How different would popular culture be if this pilot was picked up for series? Today we're opening up the pilot vault and looking at the pilot for a show called $2 Beer, an unaired pilot from 2009. So the official plot description of this episode differs to what actually happens. Fox described this story as centering around a particular brand of beer that caters to those affected by the financial crisis because of its relatively cheap price. Shenanigans ensue. I love when writers include that phrase. It's such a lazy way of saying, and then stuff happens. Anyway, and then some stuff happens when the price of beer is raised by a few pennies. That's what they claim this pilot was about. But the beer, though prominent in the story, the brand is never mentioned or even focused on really, and no price change is referenced at all. What it's really about is a group of young adults hanging out and drinking a little too much. Now, I knew nothing about this pilot going into it, other than it stars Jonathan Sadowski from that Emily Osment sitcom Young and Hungry. So we're properly going in blind with this one. Let's give it a watch. We start with a bunch of people on the porch, talking about how the main character has bought his parents' house when they were about to lose it. So we immediately start on this big save the cat moment. Sadowski plays a character named Steve, who's this semi-successful businessman. He's moving back in with his parents now that he's bought the house, but he wants to swap rooms with them, so he has the master bedroom. The parents are very wooden, not very entertaining at all, and they sort of like mutter all the lines. We'll talk about them a little more in a bit. They have a bit of a standoff over the beer, and the dad ends up taking 2 crates of beer. Then we get the title sequence, which is, it's very strange. I don't think I can play the music, but just look at it. Odd, isn't it? The friends are all sat around staring at a 6-pack of beer. They made a deal with themselves to never drink before noon, because they're alcoholics. As an alcoholic who was about 2 years sober, I can't say I feel their pain in this scene. They end up changing the time on the microwave to make it look like it's noon, so they can drink a little sooner. Yep, been there. One character says this.
So Mark dumped me. Apparently this thing with his wife is pretty serious.
Now, that's a solid joke, right? But why is it, whenever there's a prick cheating on someone, his name is always Mark? That's my name for the record. Ross accused Rachel of cheating on him with a Mark, and for some reason at the minute that's the only name that's coming to me, but I swear it happens all the time. It's always Mark. But apart from that, I really like that joke. It reminds me a bit of that meme that uses an image of Obama. I hope I can find it so I can put it up on screen now, because otherwise I'll sound a bit daft. This guy here, the blonde one, he feels like a 30-year-old man dressed like a teenager. That's probably because that's exactly where he is. It's given me the same vibe as Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock. And this woman is the old guy's sister. We know this because he says this to her.
Come on, sis. Put in a good word for me.
This is the only way how writers without siblings know how to write a brother and sister relationship. Why do they always do that? It's always, oh, typical of you, big bro. It's so unrealistic, I hate it.
I must have the wrong house.
Sister?
Luke talks about a big change that he's made to the kitchen. He's moved a couple of things round. It's not very interesting, but you know what? I like the vibe of it. It genuinely does feel like hanging around talking about crap with friends. I miss this. I haven't had a drink in the longest time. I really miss hanging out with friends with a beer, but well. Is what it is, isn't it? We get another unfunny scene with the parents. I'm not sure why they're here. They don't contribute much to the sitcom at all. So the regular hangout for these guys is a bar in a bowling alley, which feels like a lot of effort. They constantly have to find new footage of people playing bowling to green screen into the background. I'm not sure where I sit on it, because part of my brain goes, why put in that extra effort? But another says it's better than just having a wall people there. I don't know, it is a lot of effort. To keep shooting people playing bowling, I don't think I'd bother. And the fact that it's a bowling alley doesn't contribute to the plot in any way, so, why do you waste time on that? The old guy's nickname is Fun Size on account of his height. Isn't that just a crappier version of the nickname Half Pint? I'm sure that was given to a character in Young and Hungry. I'm sure it was that show. Does this dude really think he's hiding that dead hairline with that fringe? He's hiding it no better than James did in that Matthew Broderick pilot. Right. Why do we keep having scenes with Steve's parents? They're so unlikable, especially the guy who plays the dad. What's the point in it? The strongest thing about this show is the relationship between the friends. It feels like you're hanging out with your friends, having a drink. I wish they would have stuck with that a little more instead of wasting time with this dad character. They try and force in some drama with the dad, with Steve being the new breadwinner of the house, and it's not very interesting. Now, Steve wants to chop down the tree in his backyard. He wants to build a basketball court there instead. Do you reckon the guy who chopped down the tree in the Sycamore Gap was hoping to build a basketball court there? But in order to chop down the tree, he has to get a permit from the city. He sends his friend so he has something to do in this pilot. They have this really weird zoom effect that keeps coming up. In this example, it's showing us how the old guy lost the tip of his finger in an accident. But it happens throughout the pilot, just a weird zoom in. I don't know why it's there. It's really strange. They find out that the tree they want to chop down is actually dead, and there's a fine out for them in the thousands, so they've got to deal with that now. We get some more of the friends just sat around chilling, which, like I said before, is the strongest stuff in this pilot. The characters feel a lot more real than the ones we usually encounter on Pilot Vault, and it's not because they're incredibly well written or well rounded or anything, but I just like the vibe that comes with them. I don't know what it is. There's something nice about watching a show and feeling like you're just hanging out with your mates. Maybe I just miss beer. That's very much a possibility. We get a scene of the characters sneaking around, spying on a friend of theirs. His name is Mitchell, for the record, just so we have something to refer to him by. And they play some crappy music on a loop. Then we get a really, really crap joke.
Look at me, I'm tingling.
Actually, that's your phone. I called you from my pocket.
What a dumb joke. We then learn that Mitchell has secretly been working for an old lady, cleaning up her house. He says this.
No, it was like my inner slave just spoke out. All of a sudden I wanted to clean this old white lady's floors.
Yeah, what are we meant to say about that? Let's move on. It's so weird to me how the entire plot of this pilot centered around the secret job that the friend had, only for it to be revealed to just be a boring cleaning job. I'm not sure why they thought that was a good use of our time. They really should have focused more on just them hanging out chilling. Steve then tries to chop down the tree, and we get some physical comedy where they all give it a try. Each one of them fails. Now, I did smile at the old guy's attempt. He tries to sneak up on the tree, hoping that being sneaky will bring it down. It's by far the funniest moment in the pilot. They then discover that Mitchell's new boss owns a power saw, so they borrow that and chop it down. We get one final scene with the parents. They've been some real dead weight in this pilot. Neither of them are very good actors. They sort of mumble their way through their lines without making any real jokes. They should have just chopped the parents out of it completely and focus a little more on them just being friends, hanging out. And you've got a really, really good show. Without the parents and wasting time on Mitchell's job, it's given me the same vibes of that 70s show. You know, just hanging out with your friends. It's a nice atmosphere and we don't see it enough on TV. We end on a scene of the characters chilling, looking forward to a future that we'll never get to see. It's really weird how much she is touching his leg. Like, I know they're playing a couple, but this is a bit much, isn't it? Why does she keep... Why? I wonder if that was a direction she was given. Stroke his leg a little bit more. It's just a bit weird, isn't it? So where does this pilot rank among the other unaired pilots that I've talked about? Well, I liked it. It wasn't perfect, it had its problems, and some things definitely needed to be moved around to make this better, but I'm gonna be real with you. I would have watched every episode of this show. It definitely deserves to be in the best category. I'm gonna put it up there between The Elvira Show and How I Met Your Dad. I'm kinda gutted this show never got a second pilot to iron out the problems, because we almost had a hit on our hands with this one. A second pilot to clean stuff up would have been perfect, and we would have had a great show. But well, no point crying over spilt beer, I suppose. What a rubbish joke to end the video on. What a rubbish joke. Right, are there any other Unaired pilots you want me to look at? If so, let me know in the comments, and subscribe. Help us get to 4K. Right, let you go. Bye.